Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm just going to start before everybody starts coming in. And so I actually created this webinar in 2019 when Abraham Hicks first came into Amsterdam. And I had it in my Google Drive for 5 years until I attended another Abraham Hicks event this year. And actually, also because I'm now teaching an appreciation game class with a lot of players, it really allows me to integrate everything that I know. And so I could look at the notes and the workshop slides that I made with a completely different eye. And from that perspective, I thought, well, this is a very, very insightful webinar because it will allow people to actually summarize the main key teachings around what Abraham Hicks talks about in their books and in their seminars about how human conditioning really defies the universal laws. And if you read that, you're going to think, what is Abraham Hicks talking about? And I think it's really, you will get to know it. So let's dive in. So in 2019, we launched the appreciation game, and it was based on one of the main teachings of Abraham Hicks, which says that actually there's one tool that you need, and that is appreciation, because appreciation is most close to the vibration of unconditional love and of source. And if you do it for 30 days, you would literally change your life. But if you did it for 6 months, you wouldn't recognize yourself. And so basically the download came during a walking meditation that I would design a game, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. And then later on, the download came who I was going to work with. And then later on, the download came that it was going to be an appreciation game. And knowing me, I really trust my downloads. My downloads have always led me to the most miraculous manifestations and allowing of beautiful experiences, including all the work that I'm doing, including meeting my husband, etc. So this really was a download, and I always trusted what came to me. So if you look at the appreciation game, it's actually really an expose of all the human skills that we need to practice so that we're not going to be stuck in basically the programs of survival. Yeah. So really, this is the quote that I was referring to, that really appreciation is the one life-changing tool. And people think, well, that sounds so easy. Is it really real? Well, we tested it, my co-founder Ellen and I of the game. We tested it and we found out that if people play the game, even if for 1 month, it could really help them understand that most of the time they're not in appreciation. They're actually in what we call the 7 toxic ways of thinking. And apart from that, most of us are in resistance, and we don't actually, apart from maybe listening to the universal laws teachings from various authors, attending a lot of webinars, or maybe even reading a lot of books, we actually are not applying the teachings in our lives. And the appreciation game is designed as an accountability game to actually not just know the laws, but actually to apply it and to live it. And so most of us are Dr. Joe students. And from Dr. Joe, we all know we don't want to be philosophers. We want to be the doers. We want to be the scientists in our own lives. And that is what the appreciation game is about. So the way that we designed the game is really helping people to find out, to understand that there are 7 toxic ways of thinking and being that actually are very, very, they're underlying a lot of the human habits of survival and scarcity and separation. They are devaluing victimization, blame, comparing, competing, time warping, generalization, catastrophic thinking, and urgency. This is coming from one of my most favorite books, Secrets of Attraction, Universal Laws of Love, Sex, and Romance by Sandra and Taylor. But working with this chapter 4 in her book, we really went deep and started synthesizing it with a lot of the teachings that we know from other teachers, including Lester Levinson, including David Hawkins, and including, the holographic universe, everything that we know from Greg Braden or Bruce Lipton or Dr. Joe or, Abraham Hicks. And So when we look at the appreciation game, we really help people to, in bite size, day by day, change habits. And why is this so important? It is because most of us are really just knowing it. We're just consuming knowledge. Yeah. So when we then designed the appreciation game, we really made it very clear that actually in the absence of appreciation, we're running the programs of the 7 toxic ways of thinking, and we literally are living from a state of survival. So basically we know all the teachings, we have all the books, we maybe have a Kindle with lots of titles that sound very, very impressive. Maybe we're attending courses, maybe we're even teaching this stuff ourselves. But actually, when we really look at certain big areas in our lives, we're still in a state of survival. Why? Because we haven't understood that there are blind spots in our lives, and these blind spots have to do with human conditioning, which is really a lot of us are trained into living from scarcity, lack, and survival states. And a lot of even of the motivational workshops that we go to, they actually give us information that go against the universal laws. So this is just basically why the appreciation game is a very comprehensive course with daily accountability, where people really start to understand, wait a minute, I actually want to apply this and I'm ready for this. And this is why people enter the appreciation game. What we saw is that when people start to join as a player and they're really serious, because it costs money, they need to devote time, they need to clear the diaries to actually do the work, they start to see the ways that they've been getting the results that they didn't want, and they start to understand what they need to shift inside of them to live in a state of creation. And when you live in a state of creation, you are in receptive mode. Yeah. You literally are guided. You get downloads. Everything comes to you. You think of something and it appears. So we see things. We start to open our hearts. We go into heart and brain coherence. So from that perspective, really living in a state of appreciation was for us the key. But actually, when you look at what we designed with the game, we go much further. Go much further. So going back to my background is that I was trained as a tax lawyer, international tax lawyer, and I had a quarter-life crisis where I was guided that this was not my path. I then had a dream where literally Source was guiding me to choose between 2 roles. One was working with tax law, tax legislation, and another one was working with a headhunting firm where I was assessing leadership, CEO, CFO, CMOs, chairman of the boards, etc. type of roles for one of the top 4 companies in the world. And I got that role, and I was guided to get that role. And I know now that I was guided to get that role because I really had to understand competencies. And why are competencies important? Competencies are important because we have to, when we're going to look at what we can shift in our ways of being, it is because we need to make it measurable. Yeah. We need to make it tangible, and we need to make it something that we can even assess. Like, you can see that somebody is really good at it, or they can improve. And this is how I always structured my classes, even in 2007 or 2008, when I was still living in London. I would structure my classes where I explained Abraham Hicks as competencies, and I always combined it with Tony Robbins. I combined it with, with energy healing, and I combined it with basically a lot of the Jungian work that I was then teaching. So looking at the slides, we are going to go through several dimensions, and I want us to look at this slide. So tonight's topics are really a few big topics. So tonight is mainly the slides and notes of the workshop of 2019. In that workshop in Amsterdam, Abraham Hicks talked about the feeling versus the action journey, the identity that we're struggling with or that we are not aligning with, the type of influence that we are under as people, as human beings or human doings, the topic of resistance and allowing, and the topic of what are we calibrating to. And so when you go further, I want you to take notes. Yeah, I want you to take note of the competencies that I really created to help you understand how the things that Abraham is talking about, and every book that you read is talking about, even if it's talking about a very esoteric subject, you can break them down in things that you would call a skill, a competency, something that you can assess, something that you can measure, and something that you can practice and train yourself in. So if you start to see all the different skills that are mentioned in these teachings by every teacher that you study, you start to know, wait a minute, I'm doing it in a way that I am not a master yet. So for instance, if we're going to go to one of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, they're talking a lot about stop facing undesired reality. And so what is the alignment skill then? The alignment skill is vision. So Abraham Hicks and every other teacher talks about telling a new story. And then basically, what is the habit to break? It's basically you have to stop giving a lot of emphasis on the reality feedback loop and being factual. So we'll go into that in all the other slides. So what I think you will see is that over time, the habits to break here, you will see that a lot of the human habits, the human conditioning that we've been trained into since we were children, and that mass consciousness is imprinting upon us, they're actually really here. And actually the alignment skills are here. So these two columns, the habits to break and the alignment skills, they're in opposite direction of each other. And so when you then listen to the big teachers, Abraham Hicks, Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Matt Kahn, who else? Michael Bernard Beckwith, a few of my favorites, Lynn McTaggart, Rhonda Byrne. Any of these teachers, you actually really have to overcome a lot of your human conditioning to really align with these alignment skills, because these alignment skills, they require you to have faith, they require you to have trust, they require you to believe in something invisible before it has even shown up. And of course, this goes against all the programs that are keeping us safe, which are the survival programs that run us. Yeah. So if you keep that in mind, one of the other skills is, instead of taking mindless action, which we are trained to do, we get very busy, we struggle. They teach us to align before action. And how many of us do that? Unless you are, maybe really well trained and you're you're a teacher yourself. I don't know. We tend to go into mindless action without even alignment and without even pre-paving. Yeah. So the other thing that is very important is that we tend to be in a trance state where we're hypnotized by trying to wrestle to the ground the thing that we don't want. And actually, the alignment skill is give that subject a rest, focus on the desire. And the teaching of being a vibrational match, most of the time we understand it intellectually, but being a vibrational match, it's almost like we cannot do it. Why? Because we keep doing the things that our programs tell us to do in an unconscious state, in a state of survival, in a state of this feels normal. And then we actually become insane because we keep doing the same things and we expect a different results. So these are just a few of the alignment skills that I could deduct from the teachings. But when we now go through the slide, I want you to really see, hey, wait a minute, what is my human conditioning? And what are my blind spots that disallow me to actually apply the teachings? Yeah. So one of the big ones in the room is that we human beings love to face reality. Yeah. We are trained to observe and only believe in the physical reality, and to doubt the reality of vibration, the reality of the vibrational vortex, the quantum potentials, the infinite potentials that are in the holographic universe. Most of us are really, really deep inside of us, do not believe in possibility until we see it happening in our lives. And so, of course, we know that this defies the law because in the quantum, we have to be at cause. And being at cause means that we have to cause an effect by becoming the it. We have to be a vibrational match to what we are wanting to experience in the three-dimensional world. And so if we are not matching up with that quantum potential reality, that might be a new relationship, new health, a healing, new business, improved relationships, or, a big shift in maybe your life purpose. If we are not causing that effect by becoming it, we are really not able to be at cause in the quantum world. And then we what we are trained to do in by human conditioning is that we talk about reality, we report reality. We're very good, like historians, as Abraham Hicks would say. We talk about what was, we talk about what is, we observe what is, yeah, we beat the drum of what is. So there's a lot of storytelling about what is and what was, and nobody's actually talking about what they want and how they're going to improve their lives. And very often, this focusing on reality means that people they are offering a vibration in response to what is. And so the vibration is actually something is missing. Yeah. This, what I want, is missing. My improved finances, my relationship, my improved bank account, or my winning lottery, I don't know, my dream car, my children doing a certain thing, my company being bought out. It's missing. It's not here yet. So we're offering vibrations to what it is. And this is actually really contrary to what we would call, the universal laws, because the universal laws are all about the law of vibration and really understanding that we live in a vibrational world. So excuses for all the different slides and all the different colors, because I started gathering all the different classes that I've run over, the 20 years of time or something that I've been teaching and that I've been working with groups. And literally this is one of 2019, I believe. So the Abraham Hicks is teaching that we should never, ever, ever, so this is in the book, The Vortex, I believe, never, ever, ever face reality unless it's pleasing to you, because whatever you're facing, you will only get more of the same. So if you see this, then you can already see that our human conditioning is only facing what is and facing reality. Yeah. So this is a very tough habit to break. And so because we are, when we face reality, we are seen as rational, we are seen as logical, grounded, and realistic. And this is a big deal in the human world, yeah? Because nobody wants to be seen as a delusional person or a daydreamer or somebody who really doesn't understand how success works or how creating reality works, yeah? So, but according to the law, the universal law, there is an unseen reality that already is, and when we ask, it is given. But when you are a realist, as in the human world, you are not going to feel comfortable with the reality or the potential or the possibility or of a vibrational escrow, because we are only taught to believe in it can't be real until I see it. And so we cannot see the invisible vibrational escrow of the vortex or the quantum potentials that are there already. So we will, as realists, focus on it's not here yet. My finances haven't improved. I am still single, or my boss is still yelling at me, or whatever it is. You're focusing on it's not here yet. Your attention and awareness of what is keeps it from coming. So most of the clients that we work with, they really doubt the vibrational escrow. They really, really say, you know what? I've been studying this for years. I've been really going to so many courses. I am, spending a lot of money on actually really trying to know that this is true. But there's something deep in their stomach where they doubt it. They don't believe it and they don't see it, because we are so trained to actually only believe what we see. So what what is another thing is that in our reality, many around us want to point out reality to you, and they say, face the facts, look at what is. And Abraham, the collective intelligence, says, if you're only able to see what is by law of attraction, you will only create more of what is. You must put your thought beyond what is in order to attract something different and more. So in the game, we actually really focus on the mental faculty of imagination and intuition. And because these skills are really about tuning into the non-local quantum field that is beyond the visible. And also the imagination as a faculty allows people to really mold the quantum world. Yeah. And so this is a skill that a lot of us have been, we've been trained to get out of imagination because it's seen as something childish. It's seen as something that isn't worth, fostering as an adult or as a realistic person. But actually, if, those of us, those of you who really are studying the laws or studying the teachings, Neville Goddard says imagination is God. Yeah. And, and in the appreciation game, we really help you with exercises day by day and with accountability to foster that neural network and that intuition and that mental, creative, divine faculty of imagination. So, so what people do in the game is, and also what masters do when they start to live the laws, they stop observing reality. They stop paying so much attention to physical reality, and they tune into their inner being for the guidance that it gives them around what is possible. And again, this is a very, very difficult thing to do because we are not trained to believe in our inner guidance. Yeah, most of us are very disconnected from it, and I know it was very difficult for me, but after oh my gosh, let me see, 20 years maybe, I started just trusting my downloads, but it took me a lot of time. But I really believe that right now we know too much as a collective, and the people that really devote themselves to it, they can master this maybe in 3 to 6 months, yeah, maybe in 2 months. And this is what we see in the game, that some people, they just need a little nudge, a little tweak, a little practice to actually really shift focus from only believing what is in the 3D to also believing in the vibrational reality and in the inner being that is giving them guidance about what is possible in the unseen realm. So, of course, a part of reality is undesired reality. Yeah. And this was a big, big, big teaching. And actually, in a lot of the videos of Abraham Hicks about relationships and injustice and creating contrast, they talk a lot about that we humans are conditioned to have an interest or habit in explaining and justifying and convincing others about what we don't want. Yeah. So we are going to go into protest. We're going to defend our argument why we are right and the other person is wrong. We're going to argue with loved ones or with political, different parties or in forums. And we also justify why we believe that this undesired reality shouldn't be here. But the problem is in a vibrational universe that this holds us in a vibrational pattern of not allowing in the improvement. And so this behavior of how we react to contrast or undesired reality, we're talking about things that really trigger us, yeah, is very, very in contradiction to what the universal laws teach us. So so in the appreciation game, we really make it make it clear that we have to practice the law of least resistance, and we have to go downstream. And also we are not here to sort and sift reality for what's right and wrong. The only job we do is to be in alignment. We calibrate to our inner being and we stop calibrating to the outer world that is full of contrast, full of injustice, full of so-called right or wrong. We only care about our own inner alignment. And if we go further, you will see why that is so important. And so what Abraham Hicks is asking us and what Dr. Joe is asking us and what all the different teachers that are teaching these quantum creation classes are teaching us, they're actually asking something pretty significant from us. They're asking us to ignore the reality, which is a big deal. You ignore it. That we have to ignore the reality that has had our undivided attention, and we have to pay attention to emotion just for a little while, because we know when you do, meaning we pay attention to the emotional guidance scale, which is a big teaching from Abraham Hicks, reality will flip. And so this teaching of the emotional guidance scale is a very significant teaching. And it was very surprising that, every time we come to that subject, that a lot of people don't even know it. They're like, wow, I never knew about this emotional guidance scale teaching. But it is one of the most important teachings of Abraham Hicks. Actually, if you miss that teaching, you probably are missing 40% of what Abraham Hicks is talking about. Yeah. Because the emotional guidance scale teaching is actually telling us that emotions are the guidance from our source being, telling us that our source, our expanded self that is already ready to receive the new vortex reality, they are telling us, hey, how close are you to my perspective, or how far are you from my perspective? So let's say you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling fear, or you're feeling doubt. The emotion is just a guidance from your emotional guidance system as provided by source. It's like the sat nav from source telling you that you're off track. And when you're feeling good, and this is a big big thing that we're teaching people and that they have to practice all the time, is thinking better feeling thoughts. You actually start to understand that actually when you think better feeling thoughts, you feel better. And the emotion means that according to source, the sat nav of source, you're edging closer to the perspective of source and inner being that is already living the expanded version of your vortex. Yeah. So, but maybe you can think for yourself, is it that easy to ignore reality? Because some of you might be dealing with a lot of difficult contrast. It might be a debilitating disease. Maybe you have some kind of chronic health condition where a doctor gave you some diagnosis, right? Or you're dealing with like a big decision around finances, or a divorce, or a decision around ending something, whether it's a relationship or a partnership. So really, this sounds so easy, but it is very difficult when people are, bombarded with the stress hormones. And still, what we see in the game, because people come into our game for a reason, to not be philosophers. They want to be the scientists in their own lives of these laws. They enter into the game, and that's how they start to practice it, even though it's challenging. So what do we do when we're not facing the 3D reality, the seen? We have to believe in the unseen. And that believing in the unseen is the practice of alignment and belief. And so before there's any evidence, we have to believe in the becoming of our desire. And we have to also believe in the non-physical part of us, meaning we have to identify with it, the part of us that is source energy and that is still dominant in our vibration. And how difficult is that when we are having fight and flight, stress hormones, we're being triggered, we want to, judge somebody, we want to criticize, we want to cry. I mean, I'm not saying that this is easy, but I am saying that if we don't do it, we're not living the application of the knowledge that is given to us, because we are truly living in exciting times. The amount of knowledge that we have is unforeseen. This is truly the age of enlightenment if we choose to pick up the task to do the uncomfortable work, which is just to shift our mental faculties to actually not just be so hypnotized by the physical reality and to start connect with our non-physical self. Yeah. So, yeah, one of the big things that Abraham Hicks talks about is to practice non-resistant thought. And I can tell you from all the work that I've done with different modalities, resistance is actually our middle name. Yeah. And I say that with a lot of humility because we have been trained as humans to really focus a lot on what we don't want, focus a lot on what can go wrong. And so basically what Abraham then teaches is to actually do the opposite, practice non-resistant thought. And practice is like a training. We're talking about, it's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-time exercise. This is like going to the gym. You want to be size 8 or 10 and you're now size 14. Yeah. Or you want to turn around I don't know, some kind of lifestyle, a health challenge. It means you have to start doing things differently, and it has to be a long-term change. And this is why, in the appreciation game, we help people to understand resistance, and we help people to really see the choices that they can make, and they do it day by day by day, and they get bite-sized teachings every day. And so what we do with the non-resistant thought is we take this attention of the subject that creates the resistance, and we change our beliefs by pivoting, and we follow our emotional guidance systems. We become at cause by observing and feeling a new possible reality. And this is very difficult. I'm not saying this is easy. So imagine that you are, facing a very a horrible injustice in, for instance, some relationship. Yeah, maybe somebody is blaming you all the time for something that you haven't even done. To actually really not, attack or to feel judged or victimized, and to take your attention off that subject is very difficult. So, but nevertheless, I'm also in the Dr. Joe community, and I've really seen that the change the box teaching about this specific subject, about taking responsibility also for the things that we don't like, taking responsibility for the most difficult things in our life by changing ourselves to create a new parallel reality. That teaching, is so powerful, and it's so life-changing that when you start to compare and you start to summarize the implications of this power to change parallel reality, to change maybe even your past, because you have changed the future and the present moment. I mean, this is mind-blowing. And these are all the things that we go into when we're in the appreciation game. We start talking about bending reality, time bending, time warping, time distortion, the nature of time, but also how we are always at cause, and how we can believe in the unseen by watering the plants every day. But you water it every day and you do it with accountability. So this is, again, of course, this is very different in the human conditioning. Just look at it for yourself. How much time do you spend focused upon your dream? Is that 10%, 20%? Actually, according to the teachings, especially Neville Goddard, right? It is spend more time focused upon your dream than upon the reality. The reality, the contrast, the lack, the current conditions that you don't like, they're giving birth to the dream or the vortex version. But the dream is where you are wanting to put your attention. And we all know this. We know that where attention goes, energy flows. But we still have to retrain our neural network to really, really go to put our attention in a joyful way, in an appreciative way, in an excited way, to actually really give life to the dream, give life to the quantum potential before it can appear in our life. So non-resistant thought, what is that? This goes so against our nature, and we are trained out of it as a child already. Yeah, maybe as a child, we were given permission to have pure joy, to have pure delight, to have pure playfulness and pure, and excitement. But actually, as an adult, we feel a little bit silly. We feel a bit like, oh, I better not tell people because they'll think I'm mad, and they might come with a white jacket to put me behind bars or something. But practicing non-resistant thought is a master tool. It's a master skill. You know, non-resistant thought means that you don't have opposing beliefs to what you want, and you don't have split intentions. Yeah. Opposing beliefs, split intentions, wrong identity, meaning I can never be that, but also resistance, meaning I don't want this. If this happens, then something else will happen that I don't want. These four dimensions, they create resistance. And so when we're in the game, we really go deep into why are you not a vibrational match, and why are you not practicing non-resistant thought and emotions regarding your big goal or your big intentions. So really, people have to change their beliefs so that they embody pure desire without resistance, and they actually start to daydream again. Whether it's in a walking meditation, or whether it's in a visualization, or whether it's just like in scripting, or whatever they're doing, they are going to tune into the pleasure of the daydream for the pleasure itself. And so when people do this, they start to see synchronicities happen. They start to get guidance. They see that people that don't know anything about what they're doing, they're responding. Yeah. So clients come from the unknown. Cars appear in front of them with very meaningful synchronicities, or people come to them that they don't know about and they give them messages, or, very mystical, miraculous things happen. And, and I've seen, I've been like studying this long enough, and I've been obsessed by this topic. And you really can see that people who master non-resistant thought, meaning they get out of the way, they believe in what they want is possible. They believe that they are worthy. They believe that the universe wants to give it to them. They believe that it is safe to have it, and they're ready to have it, and it's okay to have it, and it is time to have it. And they don't cultivate beliefs in and or emotions or states of being in opposition to the desire. These people are master manifestors. They think of something and it appears in their lives. Other people, they have to really almost tweak the way that they're practicing their states of being. And this is what the appreciation game is for. So another human conditioning, is, and we see this everywhere, right? Is people are always justifying their states of misalignment. So think about, for instance, how people normally talk. Very often they talk themselves they talk a lot of, they spend a lot of time offering the vibration about what they're not wanting. So let's say they say, I want a relationship, but then for 80 minutes or 80%, there's talking about, but because I'm unhappy, because I had this horrible childhood, because this and this happened in my past, because all these other people have it and I don't have it. Or they talk about, I'm confused because maybe I want to be alone. And if I'm in a relationship, then maybe I lose my freedom. And then deep inside of them, they also are offering the vibration of, why don't I have what I want? And of course, the main ego then comes in and say, because you're not enough. Yeah. So most of the time we are talking and justifying why we want to have what we want, but in doing so, we are offering often the vibration of of the past self, the old self that created what is the contrast. And then when we are focusing on that, of course, what is the vibration we're offering? What are we a vibrational match to? The quantum cannot solidify this new potential into our world because we are a vibrational match to unhappy and lonely and split intention. And I'm not sure I want it. So you're either going to attract somebody who has split intention, or you're just gonna never, you're just gonna see evidence of that people are, that relationships aren't safe, or relations, or running a business is just a lot of drama, or you're just gonna get confirmation that you're not enough. So so this is a big human habit that I actually immediately changed when I found out that I was doing the Abraham Hicks processes and manifested everything within 6 months. So going back to my experience, I was in an energy healing course by a Barbara Brannan healer in Amsterdam. Her name is Jane Job, if you want to look her up. She is also, I think a PhD in psychoneuroimmunology. And and she basically taught us the Abraham Hicks processes, the placemat process, and feeling it. And really, she was teaching us how to, do chelation and working with all the chakras and really tuning into hara and things like that. So this was 2005 or 2004 in my life. That was a long time ago. And within 6 months of scripting everything the way that she taught us, I had everything. I had the soulmate relationships, and I can tell you, I was in a horrible relationship with a Mr. Unavailable. He didn't even want to use the word relationship, yeah? But I had such low self-esteem that I went back to him over and over again. And but there was something in me, and I don't know why, I kept scripting that I was in this amazing relationship. And I was then in Amsterdam, but I felt really, really in love with London, and I wanted to go to London. And I then manifested in like 6 months, I manifested 4 job offers, and I took the job that actually aligned with all the crazy, crazy, like tick the box things that I wanted in a company. And this company, I had never even heard of them, but they were the number one in the UK. Doesn't matter. So, but what I wanted to say is that I was doing the Abraham Hicks processes without knowing that I was doing them. And I was actually coming from a lot of unhappiness because I was with a man that didn't want to be in a relationship, but I was a bit addicted to maybe his lack of commitment. And I just thought that is what I'm worth, right? Because I had low self-esteem. And but something in me made me write placement processes and gratitude in advance for my new life. And I don't, I think I was really looking back, I was just a very, very disciplined student, meaning I thought I'm in this course. So if my teacher's going to tell me to do this, I will do this. I did it. And what happened? 6 months later, everything that I wanted materialized in my life. And I was in a beautiful relationship with another man who walked into the hotel that I was in San Francisco, and it was complete different type of relationship than the man that I was first with. He was completely committed to me. Actually decided to move from Boston to be in London with me. And I was offered this amazing role, and I lived the life that I was scripting, and it meant that I scripted like in fantasy, like in a daydream. I was scripting that I was wining and dining the CEOs, CFOs, and CMOs of the FTSE 500, something like that. I scripted. I scripted that I was in the top restaurants, the top private members clubs. And in my first week in London, I was in the Claridge's, and I was in the Ivy, my first week in London. Yeah. So, and I was wining and dining these CEOs and CFOs and CMOs. And so I can tell you that when I found out through a workshop, a coincidence that I attended this workshop, that everything I did was actually taught by Abraham Hicks. I became obsessed. So when I now am telling you the amount of study and the amount of interest that I have in what Abraham Hicks is teaching, I really want to know what they're teaching. So one of the things that I want to talk about in this slide is that I used to be a person that was this slide. So my friendships were based upon complaining about how hard my life was. Yeah. And a lot of people do this because this is human conditioning. As women, Tony Robbins also says, because I studied with him, the strategic intervention coaching training. Tony Robbins will say, actually, women get a lot of love and connection when they share their pain. Yeah. Caroline Myss would call it woundology. I was one of these women. But when I started listening to Abraham Hicks and I realized that doing this would keep me in this position of attracting what I didn't want, especially in relationships, I completely stopped talking about it. And it was very interesting because my friends were used to me telling this story, telling about the hardships and this horrible man that I was with or this unavailable person. And actually, suddenly I said, I don't want to talk about it. Literally, I said, I don't want to talk about this person. I just moved forward and I just looked at what I wanted. And it was like this rigid. It was me being so disciplined in training my thought that actually I saw my whole life change. And I really can say, this justification of talking about what you don't want and why you don't want it, and it's almost like a therapeutic paralysis of being, focusing on your past and focusing on the hardship in your life. It is one of the most difficult things to break. But if you understand the loss, I would say, look deep inside yourself and love yourself enough to stop it. Yeah. So, and this is a very important teachings. Neville Goddard says it as well, meaning Neville Goddard says everything is you project, everybody is you projected out. Well, I have a lot of problems with that quote, but I'm trying to digest it. Yeah, I still have my human side, like all of us. So, but if we know that everybody is our projection and that the relationship we have with others are a reflection of the vibration we offer, there aren't actually any others. Like one of my mentors said to me, Angelique, there's only one person in the room, meaning everybody, there's all multiple mirrors, and everybody that I see in the mirror is me. There's only one person in the room. It is actually all about the relationship you have with yourself. They are projections of that. You can change people and new ones will appear with the same dynamic, but it's changing your emotions, your state of being, your vibration. It changes the dynamic, whether with the same people or new people. And so, I still don't say that I've mastered this because, I am very human. I am very reactive. I am a very passionate person, but I am getting it more and more and more that I have to take responsibility and get out of this calibrating to other people and calibrating to injustice, calibrating to what I don't want. I am more and more focusing on calibrating to my inner being. So, so this is something that you'll hear a lot in the Abraham Hicks videos, yeah? And this is the theme of relationships, other people, global world events, things that we don't like happening. So, and this was actually one of the people in the Amsterdam workshop that really, it created a lot of discussion with us as a group that attended, because we were there with, I think, almost 15 people. And then we had a In the Vortex dinner and a beautiful restaurant, and we were having a hard storm about this topic. And Abraham Hicks talks about human conditioning, where we want to fix or save others, yeah? And Abraham teaches focusing on human versions perpetuates your own connection, your own disconnection to source. We can never make anybody be in receptive mode. So when we come from the helper syndrome, yeah, when we're trying to fix, save, or heal others, or when we're looking for victims to save because we feel that that's our role in the world, we are actually going back to the human pattern of we are trained to please, focus, help, and care about others. Well, of course, why? Because as human beings, human children, we were dependent on our parents, In therapy, we know that a lot of children parentify their parents because if your parents is not okay, if your parents is sick, alcoholic, or addicted, or mentally unstable, you will step into the role of taking care of your parents. And so the story starts with transgenerational trauma. But actually, Abraham is basically teaching us to actually focus on the divine versions of people. And this is hard, yeah? and also to actually get out of the being in the business of saving others and seeing others as victims. I mean, Abraham really went deep into that subject in Amsterdam. So, and it really, really was very, very, very helpful for our group when we were discussing it, because we really, all of us, because we're well-meaning and we believe that we have so much knowledge, we are the helpers. We're always trying to help the people we love. But when we see them as victims, we are not seeing through the eyes of source. We're not seeing the power. We're not seeing that a part of them has already expanded. And we're actually really then, as soon as we are seeing anybody as victim, anybody as out of the vortex, we are out of the vortex. So Abraham Hicks actually started, when somebody was asking a big questions about helping and fixing, healing others, or injustice. So basically focusing on things or animals that were victims. Abraham gave the example of Jesus Christ. And Abraham said, if you are, take an example looking at Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ was only focusing on the well-being of others, and he was trained to be in his own well-being and to mirror that, and to basically remind people of their own divine alignment and the alignment as the only way that all of us can actually become, the full version and the best expression of ourselves. So, and I want you to think about actually what type of patterns you might have that actually really are going to go against this teaching. Yeah. Because a lot of us are Enneagram 2, look it up, Enneagram 2, the helper, or Enneagram 1, which is telling others what they're doing wrong. And when we are in those Enneagram roles, we try to help, we do it out of a intention of love. We're actually feeling very, very, conflicted about this specific teaching. But I can tell you, there's one video from Abraham that really shows that we are actually helpless when we try and fix others. Yeah. When we are focusing on ourselves, on our own alignment, the rest takes care of itself. And so maybe I'll do a master class on this, because relationship is a very, very difficult topic. But there are tons of videos and tons of examples about this in our own lives and in the, probably also the Dr. Joe community, where this actually is demonstrated as a rule that we should not try and fix and see others as victims. We have to do the opposite. We have to be like Jesus. So when we're looking at the influence that we can exert on others, it can only come from alignment. That's it. So when we observe others through the eyes of source, then we have influence. So what do we need to do? We have to get out of the pattern of trying to fix others, trying to help others, see them as victims and powerless or whatever. We have to practice seeing ourselves and others through the eyes of source, regardless of their real behavior. And of course, this is difficult, right? And this has all to do with the law of vibration and heart and brain coherence. And there's now so much research and knowledge about heart and brain coherence and how it affects people and how it affects the world and how it affects the holographic universe. And so this is, of course, in the game, I always reference the David Hawkins scale. And it is one of the most important tools that I use, because without this scale, we would all be like, trying to describe the elephant with blindfolded, right? But actually using the map of consciousness, we can really see that there's really leverage in alignment. Yeah. Because one individual who lives and vibrates to the energy of optimism and willingness to be non-judgmental of others will counterbalance the negativity of 90,000 individuals who calibrate at the lower weakening levels. That's a lot. One individual who lives and vibrates to the energy of pure love and reverence for all of life will counterbalance the negativity of 750,000 individuals who calibrate at the lower weakening levels. So, and I mean, I think unconditional love and actually optimism and willingness is already quite difficult, but to go to illumination, bliss, and infinite peace, 10 million, I'm not sure I'm there yet. So let's keep it to the 90,000 or 750,000 because that is quite a task. But to understand that, you know, Abraham Hicks never talks about heart and brain coherence. Abraham Hicks doesn't look at the science. Abraham Hicks doesn't talk about, you know, the David Hawkins scale. But what I do in the appreciation game, we combine it all because they're all talking about the same thing. And when you understand that all the teachings by every school that is actually really tapping into the universal truths, they're talking about the same thing, then you start to think, oh, wait a minute, I want to do this. I'm committed to this. Yeah. So going back to relationships and that there's only one person in the room, only one person. What do we have to do? Basically, this was the main theme in the Amsterdam 2024 class. We only have to calibrate to our source and our inner being. Why? Because inner being values us unconditionally. And when we calibrate to it, we start to get the guidance from our inner being because that part of us is already embodying or already done expansion. When you ask, it is given. The inner being part has already expanded to embody that potential. And it's a sure thing. It's not a future thing. It is done in the now. And so when we're feeling unworthy and we're feeling wounded and we're feeling, you know, in pain or in resentment or in unforgiveness, we have to face the part of us that is already, you know, in a place of forgiveness, in a place of acceptance, in a place of grace. Yeah. If we are feeling unworthy or not enough because of whatever toxic way of thinking that we've been experiencing through our own inner chatter or because of our life experience, when we start to calibrate to our inner being and we don't look for love in all the wrong places, you know, we will over time start to feel better and better. And that is the power of alignment. We do not focus on other people. We do not focus on external circumstances. We focus on our connection to source. So the calibration to inner being sounds pretty boring, right? Yeah. I mean, seriously, for years, I didn't want to do it. I knew that I had to do it, but I didn't want to do it because I still wanted to manifest the man. I still wanted to overcome my programs. And I went as far as to do all the trainings about, you know, understanding my inner masculine in the Jungian world and understanding the feminine to really understand this whole game of polarity because I so wanted the man. I so wanted the relationship. I was going to challenge myself to get out of this program that I wasn't worthy. But I can tell you, it wasn't until I calibrated to my inner being that I met my now husband. Before that, I was meeting people that were basically my vibrational match. They weren't available. They were wounded. They were not committed. I can really say this is the work. Those of you who really want the success or the relationship, this is the work to do. It might seem counterintuitive, but this is really the work that you have to do. And maybe in another masterclass, I can go much deeper into what I did and actually really the steps that I took, which took me several months and maybe, you know, counting all the other years before that, but there was a lot of deep work in a few months. Yeah, so others, relationships. There's so many videos in of Abraham Hicks talking about this. And when you understand that there is power in alignment and that we have been trained to be dependent on others, these others are outside of our control. And depending on validation from others, it creates that we are looking for love in all the wrong places. And in one of the teachings that I also, reference, which is the release technique from Lester Levinson, they're actually saying that most people don't even love themselves. It's like going to a bank that's bankrupt. So when we're looking for love in all the wrong places, we need to ask ourselves whether we're actually going to a bank that's bankrupt. Yeah. So why don't we all do the work to actually stop looking for love in all the wrong places, stop calibrating to others, so that we no longer have wobbly alignment? We can now just look for validation from our inner being. And why is this important? Because, our inner being and the vortex is real. It is as real as the 3D reality. It is present tense and it's not future tense. It is now. It is now. It is now. It is now. And so really, the way that Abraham Hicks in 2019 was saying several times, it's a done deal. It's done. It's a done deal. Ask and it's given. It's a done deal. For me, that was really, really a big game changer, because I think when we're looking at the elapsing of time, we're always pushing out manifestation or a desired experience into the future. But if you know that it is already done, it is already sure, it's a sure thing, you just have to enjoy the process of expanding into it, of allowing it into your life, of becoming it. Then it can be a very joyful experience instead of you focusing on the lack of it. And of course, but this is very interesting, because most of us have a lot of belief only in what we see. And our neural networks are trained to believe only what we've been programmed to. And a lot of it is distrust, and a lot of it is lack of not surrendering and really holding on to, basically limiting beliefs about reality, about ourselves, and about even divinity. Yeah. So this belief in the vortex and belief in vibrational reality, and that ask and it is given, it's a done deal, it is now, it's present tense. This is a very important belief to actually encompass into your life, and to say, to really understand that the vortex is a reality, it's not in the future. And although it hasn't you're manifested yet in the so-called now, which is eternal, it is a reality, and this vortex reality is a precursor for all manifestation. But we can delay it forever by not lining up with it, or we can actually joyfully grow into it. And that is really, really the important thing. And so a lot of us, when we go into more human conditioning that defies the laws, it's really about how do we then allow? How do we allow in these things that we want? And there is a big discrepancy between human doing, which is all about unaligned busy action, and vibrational action. Understand that the quantum is a vibrational reality that responds to intention and vibration. And when we are just taking misaligned action and we don't even believe, so we're not offering the vibration of a vibrational match to the quantum, we are going to be delaying the quantum reality of your vortex, right? So as human beings, we are trained to see results happening through action, through 3D action, to you having to do something. So we are not trained to believe and have faith or trust, or even trust something we don't control through our action. And so also one of the false premises of human beings or human doings is that we really believe in human productivity only with hard work, struggle, and effort. And actually, this really was real for me. It says without effort, hard work, and struggle, we feel guilty. You even feel not worthy. And these lack vibrations are very deeply rooted. And basically, what we're doing is we're feeding lack and guilt so that we work harder. But these vibrations that become our states of being, they are basically in opposition of our ability to receive, to be in the receptive mode. If you look at some of the ways that we are motivated to achieve success, it's really about no pain, no gain. You have to work hard to justify your worthiness, hustle, right? Work hard to earn success. Yeah. And so the teachers, the non-collective intelligence called Abraham says, worthiness is a false premise. Your worthiness there's no need to earn it. So it is important to get into the receptive mode frequency, to really master the law of allowing. And mastering the law of allowing, it's really, really not, I wouldn't say it was easy because it wasn't easy for me, but you can do it. If you know what to shift, you can do it. So the receptive mode frequency is believing that it is done. It is done. It can be fun. You are feeling eager, Abraham Hicks says you're feeling frisky, you're feeling excited, and you take the downstream actions. You do it with ease. So there's all this hard work, struggle, effort paradigm. Those people are really, really holding themselves in the vibration of not having it. This is actually the counterintuitive part, which is source's guidance of how we're going to get in receptive mode. you know um very often we are also, jumping into action. And actually, really what is important is that you practice vibrational action first. You practice alignment first. So for instance, segment intending, scripting, placement process, pivoting, the focus wheel. There's a lot of processes that you can actually use to actually really prepare yourself vibrationally so that you have a steady alignment in this specific subject, whatever that subject is. And so, and this is not about taking action. This is about vibrational action. And the vibrational action is to get into receptive mode. And although none of us can see it, you can feel it. Yeah, because we spoke about the emotional guidance system. The emotional guidance system will tell you when you're there, tell you when you are feeling less worried, less attached, less resistant, and less in opposition to what you want to create. Okay, so yeah, the other thing is that we are really validating reality through our physical eyes. Yeah, this specific pair of eyes, and we are focusing on human identity and human habits, but focusing on them will disallow our connection to source. And so I chose this specific picture of a disabled person having to be led by another person because, to be honest, I really feel that when we perceive ourselves, we are actually looking at ourselves as disabled. Most of us feel broken. Most of us feel not good enough. Most of us feel, and if we're in pride, we literally are hiding some kind of, self-esteem, worthiness issue. So a lot of us are actually not conditioned to really love ourselves and to really appreciate and value our uniqueness and even maybe the things that make us so-called different and unique. Yeah. And and it takes maybe quite some time before we actually see ourselves through the eyes of source. So what is important is that we start to train, and this is like really, really appreciation, is to have compassion, unconditional love for all parts of yourselves. And regardless, and you do it when you can do it for yourself, you can do it for others. Yeah. So it starts with yourself, and then you can do it with others. And you don't really look at their behavior, but you maybe look at their lack of knowledge, their lack of resourcefulness to actually expand into the direction of their source self. So, and imagine how your life will be different when you do that. Another thing that Abraham Hicks really talks about is that, what are we under the influence of? Are we under the influence of mass consciousness? And if we're under the influence of mass consciousness, it means that we are in ignorance, meaning that we don't know that we are basically, that there are universal laws that can teach us how to have, be, and do the things that we really are excited about. And then because we're in ignorance, we create reality, which is undesired. And then we observe this undesired reality. And that then creates evidence of the belief that it is not happening for you. But actually, all we're doing is we're getting the feedback loop of ignorance of the laws that is devoid of application of the universal laws. So when we are not studying and we're not applying it, we are just going to get the evidence of, the subconscious hidden programs that are trying to protect you, or your the information in your system that you're just downloading and that you're not changing because it's too difficult. And so this mass consciousness is really, really a big, big hurdle, I would say, because you see it everywhere. You hear it everywhere. You see it in movies, you see it in songs, your friends are talking about it. And Abraham Hicks even says at the leading edge, there's not a big group of people. It's a very small group. So in terms of your transformation process, you need to be careful where you're going to be listening and be led. Because if you're not being led by the people who are living it, who are obsessed about this, who are really just saying, I don't care what it takes, but I am going to do this because my alignment is more important than everything else. I'm going to be the scientist in my life. I'm no longer a philosopher. You're going to be under the influence of mass consciousness. And mass consciousness is living in trance states of the monkey mind. So I included a lot of the faster EFT teachings in my class because I did a level 1 training. And basically the trance states of the monkey mind are programs. Yeah, nothing else, nothing more, they're programs. So unfortunately, as human beings, when we're just using our human brain, and our universal laws, there are universal laws that humans find hard to believe. For instance, ask and it is given. It's a done deal. And that we have to get into receptive mode. So this is one, ask and it's given. You can really, really talk yourself out of it. And this is the main work sometimes that we do in the classes with people to get them out of the blocks that make them study it all, but still not believe in it for themselves. This can sometimes be the biggest chunk of work. Very often people are also obsessed about the how. And of course, this is one of the things we need to surrender because the how is not our business. And really the real work is the belief work. But we keep observing reality. And then we say, hey, it's not here yet. And look at all my investments, I've tried everything to work on this subject. Well, if you look at the competencies and the way that the appreciation game is designed, you will understand where you're lagging behind because there's no more question mark about which alignment skill you haven't mastered yet. Yeah, because you might think I've done everything. No, you've studied everything, you've consumed everything, but maybe you haven't really broken it down into alignment skills so that you actually really know, wait a minute, this alignment skill, I'm off track. This alignment skill, I have it as a superpower, but I'm using it to create what I don't want. Yeah. So I will focus a little bit more on the alignment skills later on when the slide comes. But another universal law that humans find hard to apply is that they find it hard to focus on things. Basically, we focus on things that are not going well. And the problem is that when there's one subject that is not going well, that one subject, this allows us being in the receptive mode. And this main subject that is creating the worry can dominate our vibration. So imagine you might have 10 things that are going well in your life, but you could be focusing on one thing, and that one thing will get you out, will start dominating your vibration. And so, basically what Abraham Hicks is teaching is really to really go for the path of least resistance and to really understand that wherever there's a question or a problem, there's already an answer and there's already a solution. But to go into the direction of the answer or the solution, we need to understand the definition of satisfaction. And the definition of satisfaction is to move in the direction of your expansion. And imagine the opposite of moving in the direction of your expansion. It's moving away from your expansion. And I would say satisfaction is not even dissatisfaction, it's suffering. Yeah. It's really like depression, apathy, grief, fear, frustration, self-doubt, self-sabotage, beating up yourself. That is really the opposite of satisfaction. So really understand that when we can understand that ask and it is given. A part of us is already expanded to this vibrational source being that is living the expansion. All the cooperative components have already gathered. All we have to do is let go of resistance, which is, already explained what resistance was. We have to do what is easiest. We have to really go downstream, and we have to go towards satisfaction. But these are difficult things to do when we have resistance to feeling satisfaction. Because, for instance, we might feel, I can't feel satisfied because I have too much work to do. Or I can't feel satisfied because, wait a minute, I have to worry about my bank account, my business, my child's child support. I don't know, rescuing my family members that are sick. You name it, right? So yeah, another dimension that universal law that humans find hard to believe is our alignment. Yeah, most of us have a lot of evidence of our identity as a human doing. Yeah. So most of the time, we're very unsatisfied with ourselves. We're beating up on ourselves. We are, beating ourselves up. And actually, most of the time, Abraham really said that we occasionally stumble, often by accident, into alignment of who we really are. But actually, it's a master skill. It's a skill. There's something you can do to get you back into alignment. And there's things that you don't do, that you train yourself out of to become aligned. And this has to do with the fact that your source energy connection is still dominant, and we just have to make that our normal. Yeah. So despite all the evidence of us seeing that we have not been living in alignment, the alignment and the connection is still dominant. Why? Because we just saw the power of alignment, how powerful we are in alignment. If we can hook up to that part of us, imagine how powerful you are. So that source energy connection is already there. We just have to find enjoyable ways to get into satisfaction, to get closer to that part of us. And if we do that, and we make that our new normal, we start to talk to ourselves as if that is who we are, then reality can shift. One of the things that I think we are really steeped into in our world is scarcity consciousness. And there's a very false premise of scarcity. And basically, Abraham says that we are really trained to see opportunities, money, resources as there's a finite pie. We have to compete for it. But actually, really, Abraham teaches, and many others teach, that there's an infinite pie and it keeps expanding. So we have to start to retrain ourselves into the vibration of abundance, and to see it and to feel it and to vibrate it. And, this is not an easy thing if we are, trained to worry, trained to watch the news and see things about inflation. And we're dealing with clients, we're dealing maybe with politicians or, statistics that tell us that, people don't have money, or, currency is doing this or that. So it's really, really defying what else is out there in the world, and to really condition yourself to calibrate to the universal truth of abundance, that the quantum field has infinite potential, and that there's a lot of scientific evidence to show that we can command matter. And, these are all the teachings that we go into, with references, scientific references, different books that we study. And this is why, once you're in the appreciation game, you really start to see the synthesis of all the studying that I've done, all my years and years of passionate, obsessive study, and how that will enable you to not just believe, but to start to see that there is an abundance of evidence that actually the unseen reality is really a reality that we can work and play and mold, but that there are rules for that. Yeah. Yes, as I said, there's universal truth of abundance, but abundance expresses itself according to how much we can allow in. And that, of course, means that we have to expand. We have to expand our muscles of receiving. And we have to stop thinking that we are guilty when we're receiving, that we're taking a pie that maybe could have gone to somebody else. Yeah. And so this practice being in allowing mode is a very important skill that we need to practice. And that is also part of the game. So this is basically what we do in the game. We have accountability. We do it in a group format. Every day you get bite-sized teachings, about many, many different topics. And because of the group work we do in classes with all the different processes that we teach you, we also create entanglement. And I already showed this alignment skills format. You will see that there's many more, but these are a few of the big ones that, we teach you and that you need to play with in the game. So sometimes, we also work on different areas. We work on identity, we work on how we think, we work on how we feel, we work on us being receptive in the non-local intuition, and we work on really the leverage of alignment through the law of non-resistance and seeing beyond appearances. So there's many dimensions that we work with and many different skills that we work with that basically we lay foundation upon foundation so that everybody in the game really starts to change their beings, change their neural network, and change the way they are expressing their intelligence. Yeah. So what do? We basically change your grid. We reset in the game your vibrational set point. We teach you to get out and really shift out of the 7 toxic ways of thinking and being, and to believe in what is becoming. What is the becoming of your desire? We teach you the process of pre-paving, how to work with vision, to see things before they're here, and to basically how to live in surrender, how to let go of the how, and how to be the vortex, and how to really, get out of victim and lack consciousness and self-sabotage, and to really come from a place of self-honoring and true self-knowledge, and to really, instead of listening to your programs and listening to your, the fire alarms and what I call the horror movie production studios in our mind, creating always the worst case scenarios, we're actually teaching you how to tune into your guidance and to do it day by day and to share it in the group so that you really inspire each other. And we teach you how to recognize downloads and to recognize the voice of the program. And of course, we teach you how to get out of living in a state of survival and to co-create with the divine, because the divine is always guiding us. And if we look at the synchronicities and the manifestations of the group, it is really, really, really interesting how the divine starts showing up. The divine starts giving them signs and giving them playful, beautiful messages. And this is really the product of a group that is that wants to align and that has as its main intention to be in alignment with the truth of who they are and who they've always been. So yeah, so the game actually really is about this very difficult habit, and that is to control the way we feel and to positively affect the things that come into our life experience by deliberately directing our thoughts. And when you start to listen to all the Abraham Hicks videos and Dr. Joe and Michael Bernard Beckwith and every person talking about this subject, it is about changing the way we feel and changing the way that we habitually think. The problem is that a lot of us have split intentions and we have a lot of oppositional beliefs to our desire. So this is why in the game, we work with a lot of the split energy and oppositional beliefs to help you get clear and to transcend it, to no longer stay stuck on this lower level of split energy, but to transcend it, because there's always a transcendence. There's always something higher than where you're stuck in split energy. And when you get out of the split energy and split intentions, you will know your power. Yeah. Because the people that have non-resistant thoughts, that are living in non-resistance, they manifest very quickly. And these people, funny enough, they don't even care about the manifestations because they already feel whole. They already feel free. They already feel blessed. They're not coming from lack. They're not coming from attachment. Yeah. And, so this is really, really beautiful to see in the game. So why did we design the game the way that we did it with accountability? Because, I'm very, very inspired by chapter 4 of The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles. This is the book that Rhonda Byrne used to create this huge mega success called The Secret. If you haven't seen it, I would really recommend you to watch the interview with Rhonda Byrne and Brian Rose about how she was almost at bankruptcy of, I think, a debt of 1 or 2 million. And literally the accountant said, you're going to go bankrupt. And her daughter gave her the book, Science of Getting Rich. She read it in 40 minutes and it changed her life. She basically created the success of The Secret by pre-paving and by just remembering who she was. But that the chapter 4 of The Science of Getting Rich really talks about how difficult it is to change our thought. And basically it talks about the distinction between truth and appearances. And for you who don't understand this chapter, appearances is what we project onto the quantum field, and then what manifests as form or so-called reality. And truth is actually the mechanism by which we create reality. Yeah, that everything is our projection. So basically, this is why we have the accountability game, because to think truth, regardless of appearances, meaning the manifestations in the outer world, is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work man is called upon to perform. There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances, meaning it's very hard to think of health when you are facing the appearances of disease. It's very hard to think the truth of abundance when you are facing the appearances of bankruptcy or you cannot pay your bills. Yeah. It's very difficult to face the truth of love when you are faced with the appearances of people, maybe, attacking you or betraying you or ghosting you. This is what happened to me, by the way, before I had a huge spiritual turnaround, because I thought, I am creating people ghosting me. I am no longer accepting this. I love myself enough to heal this. And so I hope that those of you who are listening to this, that you really understand that, this is the hardest work in the world. This is not an easy work. And this is why, the appreciation game is to really help you get over the resistance of working on the most hardest thing in the world, which is to actually go against your beliefs, to go against the knot in your stomach, to go against the things that you really think are true, although they are just appearances, right? And because most of you who are listening to this, you have studied everything. You have every book. You've been to many courses. Probably you're already in a course right now, or maybe you're even teaching a course right now, or you're working with clients. But, maybe there's a few areas where you think, wait a minute, I would benefit from knowing all these things and having accountability. So basically what we do is we teach you the main skill of appreciation, because that counteracts against the 7 toxic states of being and thinking. And basically appreciation creates receptive mode. Your resistance will dissolve. You will hear blocks of thoughts that source offers. You will hear the guidance from your inner being. It allows you to follow and trust the impulse that comes in the receptive mode. And it leads you to experience the happy journey towards manifestation. So these are some of the examples of the worksheets that we give day by day. So they're all different exercises, though this one is really about something that people are facing in appearances. So for instance, worry in their finances or overwhelm in their work or relationships. And then they have to turn towards source. They have to think better feeling thoughts, because this is the teaching of the emotional guidance system. So these are the things that people do. They don't have to share it, but they do have to share the insights in a private group forum. And this is how we are creating a lot of, interaction, and a lot of, group learning and group interaction. This is another one where we were focusing on beliefs that are in opposition of our desire. So for instance, this was an example of I earn abundant money with ease and being me in my flow and zone of genius. But actually in my gut, I was feeling clients that need me cannot afford me. I feel guilty to actually even charge money. And so what I then did was create this exercise for myself and for other people. And I said, you are now going to think the thoughts of source and allow the stream of source thoughts to come. Think one better feeling thought at a time, so that you change the grid of this belief that is in opposition of your desire. So this is the way that we designed the game. And it allows people to have daily repetition, to stop just knowing it. They're starting to do it. They're starting to be it. You're pruning old neural networks of fear and excuses, and it helps you to really, create new repetition of beliefs. So this is actually these are actually the slides of the 2024 Abraham Hicks workshop. So I would say that is for another time. Want to show you, this is, for instance, the bonus material for the appreciation game. And we have a part here that is the accountability. We have here all the special trainings of the different tools that I give, basically really different tools that I teach people that are energetic tools. Well, anyways, I hope that this was insightful, and that it helped you to really see all the different human conditioning that we have that defy the laws. Maybe this one, if you can look at it, these are some of the vibrational alignment skills that go against human conditioning. And maybe if you make a screenshot or you work with it, maybe you will find out the benefit of being able to take out the fluff of the law of attraction teachings. So I don't know whether there's any questions. If you have any questions, you can put it in chat. I'm happy to give you answers. If you want to know more about the game, please private message me. Happy to tell you more about it, and maybe I will be inspired to create a masterclass. I have to focus on some other projects, but hopefully the slides of 2024 will not take me 5 more years. Yeah. So yeah, I want to thank you for being here. And if you have a question, you can ask now, or you can private message me. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for listening to the recording. Bye-bye.